Welcome back to Secrets Out. I'm Leonard Maltin. And with me right now is the movie's director, James Mangold, and his wife and producer, Kathy Conrad. James and Kathy have been making movies in Hollywood and New York for over a decade. Some of their best-known pictures include 1999's Girl Interrupted and 2005's Walk the Line, for which Reese Witherspoon took home an Oscar. Right now, they're executive producers of the hit TV show Men in Trees, which stars Anne Heche. James and Kathy, I'm very happy to have you here. Welcome to Secrets Out.
Thank you, Leonard.
Thank you, Leonard.
And congratulations on your new film.
Well, we're really excited to get it out there.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say that you seem to enjoy bucking the tide. You got a lot of resistance to making Walk the Line because people said people don't want to see biographical movies. And I'm sure you had a lot of people say no one wants to see a Western.
Everyone, in fact.
Yes. we repeated the same, it was the same journey on both Walk the Line and on 310 to Yuma. Both projects originated at Sony. They were developed at Sony. And when it came time to make the movie, unfortunately, they weren't going to make the movie. And it sort of forced our hand to go out and see if anybody else would have us. And every studio in town said no. So we had to find independent financing for this one. But it was a really great experience because we didn't get anybody visiting us. We were in our own world and we got to do things, and so that felt great.
I love Westerns.
So do I.
So do I.
Yeah. and I think a lot of people do, and of course they've done very well on television. Somehow that hasn't moved over to theatrical world
Well, part
yet.
of the challenge is that the audience that watches at home is older.
Right.
And the audience that haunts the malls and the movie theaters these days is under 20. And so the trick for us is also how to make a Western that attracts everybody.
Of course, so how did you go about that?
We didn't think about it.
We didn't think about it too much. We made the movie we wanted to make. A lot of the Westerns I had seen in the last 20 years seemed to be more about the director being really thrilled that he was making a Western than about the characters and the urgency of the story itself. For us, the kind of touchstone making the film was making sure that it had a kind of
urgency.
The same kind you would have if you were making a modern cop film or another kind of drama. Anything.
I think you've been very canny in your casting, because if anything's going to attract people who are not necessarily Western fans, it's going to be the possibility of seeing Russell Crowe and Christian Bale in two terrific parts. So let's take a look at a scene right now in which Russell Crowe attempts to bribe Christian Bale into setting him free.
Just lay down your gun and let me walk out the door. It's worth $400 to me.
Is that what you reckon my price is?
No. No, I reckon it's 1,000.
Isn't that kind of reckless of you, Wade? Seeing as you're so sure that your crew's coming to get you?
Well, they're coming down. Sure as God's vengeance, they're coming. But I just like to do things easy.
Christian Bale is one of those actors who seems to be able to do anything. He's such a chameleon. But I really come away impressed with Russell Crowe in this movie. He's just wonderful.
It's hard not to talk about one and not the other. They're both so good in the film, and they're both so irreplaceable in a way. I think it's not only finding people with the right souls or right energies for the roles, but also men who bring a kind of confidence and comfort into playing men like these. There's a lot of guys that might look good swinging around as a superhero in spandex, but you put them on an analog film without the help of digital kind of enhancement, if you will, and these guys do it. You know, if they're firing a gun, it's them. If they're riding hard, it's them. If they're fighting, it's them. And they bring a kind of old world masculinity.
Is it a coincidence you named Sylvester Stallone's character Freddie Heflin back in Copland?
Far from a coincidence. When I sat down to write a movie about a town of nothing but New York City cops, I always saw it as a Western in kind of modern New Jersey setting. And what I reached for as I was writing that script was 310 to Yuma, the original script and story, as a kind of template of how to structure this thing.
And we should explain that the co-star of that movie with Glenn Ford was Van Heflin.
Correct. And yeah, it was really influential.
Well, in the years since you've made Copland, you've had a lot of experience, both of you, with the care and feeding of stars. What was it, Kathy, about Angelina Jolie when she walked into that room to audition that made you say, yes, we want her for Girl Interrupted. She's the right person for this role?
Angie came in and just was Lisa. And what she did that was so incredible, if you remember this, is that she read every scene.
Yeah, we
that
went through
Lisa,
the whole script.
she just wanted to, she just kept reading. She's like, I'm just going to read this one. She was everything, just in one in that moment and stayed that way through the whole film. I mean,
Well, it's an electric performance, and
Yeah.
no wonder she won an Oscar. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not a mystery why that happened, nor with Reese Witherspoon, who won the Oscar last year, of course,
Right.
for Walk the Line. Why did you think of her, and how did you think of her?
I mean, first of all, she comes from the South. It's not something you can put on, a kind of comfort being from a certain area. Reese has a kind of Southern lady about her. The thing that we thought about a lot at the time was the way that June was known as a kind of goofy comedian on stage, but was a kind of the salt of the
Solid.
earth and solid off stage, holding John together, raising kids on her own. Reese, in many ways, completely embodied that. It was, in a way, a role in which she could explore both the persona we already know her as and then what's behind that persona.
Now, your film wound up with a handful of nominations last year, in addition to Reese Witherspoon, and because we're in the fall already, and people just are raring to go to talk about Oscars and such. What is it like going through that season?
it's like you are clearly very excited that you're getting acknowledgement from the public, from the critics, from your peers. But also, there's a lot of things that you have to participate in that sometimes, for me, felt like you're auditioning for something.
The one good thing about all this pageantry is it very often gets you suddenly at a round table with a lot of people you admire.
It's wonderful because you can hear in everything you say, Jim, that you are a movie lover. You're not just a movie maker. And I hope you will help rekindle interest in the Western. Thank you both for stopping by today. It's been a pleasure to have you here. And again, you can catch James and Kathy's latest movie, 3:10 to Yuma, right now in theaters.